Yeah. Hey guys, Garrick here. We're out in the shop. So, Halloween was crazy. We got our Adventure Time costumes done, but just barely. And then, for those of you who don't know, I got selected to be one of the semifinalists in the Tested.com Inventern contest. So, I had to do all of that as well, which is why this post-Halloween video is a little bit late. So let me show you what I ended up finishing up for our Adventure Time props. The demon sword you only saw the blade of in the last video. Well, here's the finished thing. Now, the only part that I didn't get to is building the little piece that comes off of the pommel. But as you can see, I went to a couple parties and I was pretty rough on this. Now, the final piece was a blade scavenged from a Nerf sword. The guard was built out of 4 sheets of EVA foam and then a leather-wrapped PVC handle. Now, I went through a couple of iterations on the guard. The first one I tried to build, I tried to use a hot knife to cut it. Not a good idea. The hot knife was too inaccurate. All the cuts were really wavy. So the second one I built, I scored lines in it with an X-Acto knife and then used a heat gun to pop the lines open. But on the sides, I tried to fill all the gaps in with hot glue, and hot glue doesn't sand very well, so I wasn't happy with that. On the final one, I used a Dremel and gave the entire edge a nice bevel. And for a sword to take to a couple of parties or something to, run around a con with that you don't have to be afraid of con staff yelling at you for, it was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to try to make a few more stuff with foam in the future. The Plastidip paint job is starting to peel, but like I said, I was really rough with it, and the nice thing about Plastidip is I can just peel all of that off and paint it again without any problems. Now the Marcy Base, I think, came out really well. So, as you can see, the cardboard worked out perfectly. It's a little dusty out here. It's lightweight. It's sturdy. It hasn't gotten any dents or dings in it yet. The couple of the detail pieces I built, instead of casting knobs for it, I actually found furniture feet that were the exact size of the knobs that I drew up in my plans. So those came out really well. The rest of it is just built out of foam that's glued on top of this. This is like an ABS pick guard, I guess. I used googly eyes for the little round pieces because anytime you need a little dome on something, googly eyes are the way to go. Super cheap, paint's easy, perfect dome, don't have to worry about it. For the head, I cut the head off at an angle right here to make it more like the cartoon, and just drilled holes directly into it to put these turn screws in. Those are just epoxied in place. The standoffs are all just dowel rods again, just drilled in and epoxied in place. This is just a metallic string that Jackie found for the strings. Again, the only detail piece that I didn't finish was the spike that's supposed to go on the bottom here, but I'll finish that up later and add it before we take this to a convention or something like that. Now, I did try a new material on this. Instead of using Bondo to fill in the cracks, I used this product called PC Woody. Now, it is a 2-part epoxy-based wood filler. It has about a half hour to 45-minute work time, depending upon the temperature, but and then it cures in 24 hours. It sands easier than Bondo does, and it doesn't have the noxious stench. So if you're building inside of an apartment and you don't, want to piss off your roommates with resin smells, or you don't want to do stuff out on the patio, I would give this a try for a filler. It's a little expensive. A kit like this runs a little over $20 at my local Ace. I'm sure if I could find it somewhere besides Ace, it would be slightly cheaper. But the other thing that this does is it can be smoothed with either denatured alcohol or lacquer thinner, which is what I'm going to try on my next project. Now the next thing I am building has been a dream of mine to finish for a long time. I grew up loving the Ghostbusters, like just about every red-blooded American, but I was born in '85, so the Ghostbusters I knew as a kid was the cartoons. Now, if you've been to GB Fans or the RPF or any of the other websites, you know that there's tons of great movie proton packs out there. But there's only a handful of real Ghostbuster proton packs, or RGB packs. So my plan is to build a vacuform kit for the pack and a resin kit for the thrower. And I'm going to use some of the same cardboard techniques that I used on the axe to build some of the body out for both these pieces. I'll show you a quick, I'm using they're not schematics, I guess they're, I don't know, reference images for the animators that Deke provided. So those are what I'm using to base everything off of. But I'm also kind of keeping an eye out for realism and trying to scale everything similarly to the movie packs. So this is what the cartoon sketches look like. Now I started this project like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years, I don't know, years ago. But I kind of shelved it for a while because time and skill and just it wasn't there yet. But I've come back to it recently and I've done some cleanup on some pieces. So I already have the spacer and the start of the cyclotron rough cut. This is glued together. As you can see, I attempted to do some stuff with paper and fiberglassing resin, and it just ended up being ugly and not working, but I didn't really know at the time. Now the plans actually call for the cyclotron to be the thicker part of the proton pack as opposed to the movie where the spacer here is the thick part. So to beef this up, again, I'm going to use the stacked cardboard method here to get some added height. I'll glue that all together and resin the whole thing so it's just one nice solid piece. For the thrower, I want to make my kit as easily accessible and inexpensive as possible. So I'm going to build it around a basic project box. This is a 6x3x2 project box that you can buy at Radio Shack, which is where I got this one. I'm sure Fry's Electronics or any electronic supply store online you can find one with the same dimensions. So my first thing, which I've already done the plans for, cut and got the first coat of fiberglassing on, or fiberglassing resin, is the side panels. I've got the wings cut for each of those. So in the final piece, this is going to be really awkward to try to hold. You're going to mount them to the box like so. As you can see, I'll just build up from there. But I'm going to need to make sure that none of the lines from the corrugated cardboard show through. So I'm going to sand this resin down and then give it a coat of the PC Woody, which I'm going to smooth out with denatured alcohol. And on top of that, I'll probably cut the cyclotron piece out and do some other pieces of work here coming up soon. So when I have those finished, I will do another video and talk about any of the other stuff we've got going on. So if you like this kind of stuff, if you don't mind me droning on for a while talking about props, subscribe to my YouTube channel here, or you can find me on facebook.com/noonesdesigns, or you can visit my wife and I's website, noonesdesigns.com. Thanks again, everybody.